Good morning, Brian. We get to talk to Alan Hearns and Albert Wilson today. Did it look to you like there's been any rust at all with them or anything that would suggest that they sat out last season, or did they pick up where they left off in 2019, basically?
Well, first I want to say sorry guys for being a little late. But as far as Alan and Albert, I think they're both in good shape. I think they both look good. I think they're both. There's always a little rust, from any player after having some time off. But I think they've looked, really good. I think they're both in good shape. I think they're both running well, moving well, picking up the offensive concepts well. So yeah, I'm pleased with both guys.
And one last quick thing about receivers in general. The fact you've kept so many, at least at this point, instead of maybe paring down the roster of what you have there, you could very well have 8 to 10 NFL quality receivers. What's the thinking of you and Chris to keep that many as opposed to maybe cutting one or two of them to clear out cap space?
I think we like the depth in the room and the competition in the room, and we'll see how it all plays out. We always talk about creating a competitive environment for each position room, and I think that's the case in the receiver room, and we'll see how it shakes out, through training camp and preseason games, and the best 5, 6, 7 guys will be on the team.
Thank you.
Josh?
Hey, Brian, good morning. And a somewhat relatable question to Barry with Albert and Alan. My question specifically about, scouting a guy that you guys drafted, Javon Holland, who also opted out last season, but you guys, showed confidence to pick him pretty high. For guys that did opt out, like those three mentioned, do you look at, individual training during that period? Is it more so like, with Javon, what he had put on tape previously, how much thought process in the scouting with Javon went into, his individual training during that period of last year?
As far as their individual training, we really don't know what, each one of those guys, they're not with us. Obviously, Javon wasn't with us, and neither were Albert and Allen. So we don't know what they've done specifically. I think when you see him in person and watch him work with us, we know that they've been doing something that has kept all three guys in good shape, and the ability to move the way they need to move to have success in this league. I think with Javon specifically, he's learning. New defense and terminology, learning, getting to know his teammates. So that is, that's part of his kind of learning curve. Not necessarily the case for Albert and Allen, older guys who know a lot of guys on the team already. But, I think we can assume, I don't know exactly what they did from a training standpoint. I think we can assume they all were working hard and doing a good job from that standpoint. I know you mentioned as far as how we evaluated Javon without, seeing him. We went off his 19 tape, and a lot of things we liked, and we're happy to have him. Really happy to have all three guys.
Adam?
Hey, Flo, I wanted to ask you about the decision to stay outside when the elements got kind of rough yesterday. What was the thinking? Was there any thought of going inside, and what did you accomplish by being in that weather?
We could end up playing in that type of weather, Adam. It's really as simple as that. I think, and I think we need to be prepared to play in that type of weather. We live in South Florida. It rains pretty much every day, and we could potentially play in that type of weather, that type of setting. So, and I think it's good work for us. People may not want to stand out in the rain, but I think we need to. I think how your body mechanics need to change. You got to keep your feet underneath you. You got to be able to keep yourself under control so you can cut and make tackles and make people miss. I think oftentimes when you get into rain type of situations, that's the first thing that happens. Is you just lose your footing, and a tackle that would have been made means a guy who's on the ground, or a big play you don't get because the receiver or running back's on the ground. I think you need to practice in those elements. So anytime it rains and we have an opportunity to stay out there, and there's no lightning and we're not forced to go in, I think it's a good opportunity for guys to practice in those elements, so that if they do show up in a game, we can still have success, and not turn back and say, oh man, I wish we practiced in the rain one more time, so guys would know what it feels like to make a cut, or make a cut and get vertical, or make a break and on a pass, or get your plant foot down on a field goal. I mean, we're not always going to have perfect weather conditions.
A quick follow-up, if I may. Were you pleased with how they responded to those elements yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you get into any type of situation, you have an experience, I would say, it helps you. So, yeah, we were on the ground a little bit, but, offensively, defensively, in the kicking game, but they now know what it feels like to play in the rain, and they can make some adjustments. And I think the flip side of that is, if you're not practicing in the rain, how do you make those adjustments? You know what I mean? You end up making them in the game, and we may hopefully we've prevented, or maybe gotten one more play because we practiced in those elements versus not practicing in them, and not having understood or felt what it's like to slip, fall, and know what those adjustments need to be. I mean, I hope I only answered your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Armando?
Morning, Brian. So I'm sure if it was October or November and your starting quarterback threw 5 interceptions, you'd be losing your mind. So in June, in a mini camp, Tua throws 5 interceptions. You think what?
I mean, I think practice is a time where, not just at the quarterback position, but at every position, you test the waters and see what works, what doesn't work, so that you can make it, go back, learn from it, make adjustments, and try to improve. I think that's the same for us as coaches. I mean, there's been many times where I say, hey, I want to see what this blitz looks like, or I want to see what this coverage looks like, or let's see what this pass route looks like, or what this punt fake looks like against a certain defense, and then we'll come back and say, we probably shouldn't do it that way. We should do it this way. I think that's the case for any position. Your DB, hey man, let me see if I can jump this route and make this play, and let's see if I can do it in practice. Versus a game where, obviously, if you jump it, you don't make it, it's not what you're looking for. Can I make if you never attempt a 60-yard field goal in practice, how do you know you can make it in a game? I guess it's the same thing at every position. I want to punt it inside the 5-yard line. So if I never practice it or never, try to attempt to do it, then what makes me think I can get it done in a game? So, I think it's the same at the quarterback position. We're going to see if we can fit some throws in. And then there might be a minor adjustment that we need to make the play. And, how do you know that if you don't, make the attempt? But at the end of the day, look, you never want turnovers at anywhere. So, we need to limit those. We always need to limit those. But at the same time, there's what this is, the first day of practice is not when we're looking for the finished product. So that's, mistakes are going to happen. We're going to correct them and, continue to just improve and get better.
Omar?
Flo, I want to ask you about Solomon Kinley. Where is he, one, from a conditioning standpoint, and 2, what do you expect to see from his development in the second year? And I know you got so many of them grouped in terms of the second-year players, but specifically him, since he started the bulk of games last year?
You mentioned conditioning. I don't think anyone's where they need to be from a conditioning standpoint. I mean, it's hard to think anyone on our team is ready to go out there and play 70, 75 plays in an NFL game right now. We haven't had enough practice. We haven't had any preseason games. So collectively across the board, look, our guys are in shape, but it's a different type of shape to get into, get ready for an NFL game, which, that includes putting pads on and practicing in pads and, play after play after play. So I think Solomon's, as well as really everyone on our team's working to get in condition. And we'll continue to do that. As far as where he is from as a player, I think you mentioned, going into year 2, I think he's a little bit more comfortable, understands, the importance of communication along the offensive line, and, how important his techniques, his fundamentals are. And I think he's trying to take it one day at a time and improve and get better. And I've been pleased with where he's at, and hopefully he continues to just make strides to get everything. His techniques, his fundamentals, his conditioning, his all of it. Where it needs to be, so we can have a good finish to this mini camp, and then hopefully that gives us a springboards us into the training camp.
Travis?
Hey, Coach. My question was similar to the one Armando asked with regards to how you kind of calibrate aggressiveness this time of training camp. I'm wondering, when do you kind of pull that back and start to focus on, we have to be more detailed and more sharp in those areas, not be so aggressive and play more like a game day week?
Well, we always want to be detailed, and we always want to be detailed, and we always want to have make the right play, but there is a little bit of I think you got to practice. I mean, I think that goes with. I don't think that's day one of practice, where it's, hey, everything's got to be, ball's got to be perfect. This has got to be, I think there's some leeway, I would say, as far as, I think we try to tell all the players, hey, practice is a place where you work your fundamentals and techniques. And if there's a specific route technique you want to use to try to get open, let's see if it works in practice. If there's a specific, technique as a DB that you want to work a quick jam, or you want to work press, or you want to work off, or you want to work, you want to blitz from depth, or you want to get up in the line of scrimmage and, blitz them that way. I mean, there's a few different ways you can kind of approach any play. And I think you use practice as a way to figure out what's the best thing for you individually. And we'll, as coaches, say, hey, this is what I think, you should try. And, and the players have input on that as well. And I think, that's when you do it. When do you, say, hey, I think you need to try it first before we as a staff can say, hey, look, you probably shouldn't do that. You should do this. Or, and I think you just learn from those experiences. I mean, that's, whether it's football, whether it's anything, I'm sure it's journalism, whether it's, any sport, I think you learn from your experiences. And, that's the case with really all our players. I know we're talking specific to one position, but we got guys trying different things really at all positions.
Cam?
Hey, good morning, Flo. I guess just the last follow up on that too thing. Again, he mentioned just the aggressiveness. You mentioned the aggressiveness. I think a lot of people who watched last season would know that's something that maybe he and you guys wanted him to improve on. So what do you say to him maybe after that practice so that he doesn't necessarily go back into a shell as far as aggressiveness?
I don't think Tua's going into a shell. I mean, I think, Look, I tell him to continue being aggressive. I mean, really, the conversations are a lot of what we've already talked about here. It's use this time to practice the things that practice pushing the ball downfield. Then we'll make the adjustments, we'll make the corrections, and we'll go at it again the next day. I think that's the normal progression of how this goes. My conversations with him are, hey, we'll look at it, we'll make the corrections, and we'll get better and come out here and do it tomorrow.
If I could, I guess, ask about another second-year player, Noah obviously is getting a lot more reps out there because of the exit situation. Where have you seen maybe him going into year two? I know maybe he didn't perform as well as he wanted to as a rookie, but have you seen elements of his game that have made an early jump at this point?
I mean, I think he's worked hard this offseason. I would say from a training standpoint, but also from just understanding conceptually of defense and all the things that are going on in the back end. So I think he's made some improvement, and I'm pleased with where he's at, and hopefully he just continues on this trajectory.
Thanks.
All right, final two questions, Safed and then Hal.
Awesome. Flo, good morning. One of those journalism experiences I learned from happened to be Nick Needham question you answered back in 2019. I want to ask you about his rise and his improved play over the years. We saw him pick off Devontae Parker yesterday and on the outside, and it seems like he's always been kind of a persistent player that has practiced well and shown up in games for you. What can you say about his progression over the years?
I mean, he's worked hard. He's tough. He's competitive. He's a team first guy, and he's made improvements really since he's got here, and he's continuing to get better. And he's aggressive. He wants to be out there. He wants to compete. And normally, guys who put all those things together, they improve, and he's definitely made a lot of improvements, and he's continuing to improve, and I'm very happy with where he's at, and he does everything necessary to continue to make improvements. So yeah, I'm not really recalling the 2019 conversation about Nick Needham, but I'm trying to think about it. But
we can talk about it another time.
Okay.
Our last question, Hal.
Is there any news to report on X, and do you expect him today?
I do not expect him today. Obviously we talked at length about him yesterday, so really nothing else to report.